Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, welcome to Women in Wealth series. I'm Regina McCann-Hess, your host for our Women in Wealth. And today I have a new guest with me. And Michelle, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Sure. And thanks so much for having me, Regina. I really appreciate being on the show. I'm a big fan. So I'm Michelle Kozin, and I'm an organizational strategist and a behavioral science practitioner, which basically means I help companies connect their people strategy with their business strategy to get better results. So it's very much about managing change. It's about managing transitions. It's about bringing out people's full performance potential and just helping them recognize the patterns that predict how trust and connections are built in our complex organizations, especially when they're under pressure, when they have a lot of deadlines, when there's resource constraints, where the water is the choppiest, basically, when you're executing on strategies, when you're trying to achieve big goals and there's a lot of ambiguity, there's a lot of pressure. It's not about those sunny days, right? Mm-hmm. When it's easy to feel connected and everything is going in the right directions. It's more about understanding our behavioral wiring on the days that really kind of test our ties with others. That's where this work really pays dividends. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about what I do. And what I love about it is that it really unlocks those aha moments for folks who carry a lot on their shoulders in organizations, and really caring for customers, caring for team members. And when they can really understand the power of diversity of thought, of how behavioral science helps us understand how we're wired for work, it really is a game changer.
Wow. So you do tough things. Really, you get in there when basically when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So you get in there, roll your sleeves up to your elbows and say, how do we do this? And what's the best way through it?
Yes. And I like to say I actually help others do that hard work. I call myself a change Sherpa. Ooh. It's basically trying to, climb the mountain of change. And I'm just kind of alongside, kind of carrying the backpack, explaining some of the best routes up and down the mountain, explaining what change can look like, what it can feel like, and how to understand how other people are motivated at work, right? When we think about unlocking our performance edge, and when we think about the work that has motivated us the most in our careers, it's usually because there's some aspect of that work that really locks in on our intrinsic motivating needs. And it's not that we can't do things that aren't intrinsically motivating for us, but if you've ever had a role where you know that you've just had to expend a lot more energy to get something done, right? We all have those tasks, even when we love our work, when we love our jobs, there's always something that if someone came along and said, would you like me to take that off your plate and you never have to do this ever again? You'd say, yes, please, right? Because
I'm raising my hand. Email, exactly. Take it. I never want to see it again.
Exactly. Because that's not the part of your work that motivates you the most. Can you do it? Yes. Is it sort of that classic eat the frog first? Yes. And so this really helps us understand, where do we kind of lock into those intrinsic motivators, and where do we respond to extrinsic pressures or extrinsic motivators? I mean, for some, here we are, we're talking about wealth management and our financial lives. Money is an extrinsic motivator. Some people get into careers and stay in careers even when they're not motivating intrinsically because they get locked into the financial rewards of it or the influence or the power. And
Yeah.
so when we think about organizations, that can happen as well. So it's it is hard stuff, but it's also what really unlocks some of the best of what we do in our lives. And I just help people kind of get around those speed bumps and take those harder moments along with the bigger journey of just rewarding work.
Yeah, yeah, because there are speed bumps, but I just call them speed bumps. Like it's not all smooth sailing, and if it were, how do you grow from that? And we do learn more through sometimes our failures, but we also learn more when the water does get choppy. And it's tough when you have to work through something like that, but you come out on the other side a stronger person, a stronger worker, stronger employee, a stronger everything, just because of that experience. So I think it's pretty cool that your whole focus is on being that Sherpa, helping people manage their way through, through those choppy waters and giving them the tools that they need so that they're learning these tools now so that the next time they come across something like this, they're going to be able to navigate it a little bit easier or at least use their experience in how to navigate it.
Yes. And it's also how you experience it, right? So when we
Mm-hmm.
think about how people level up, how they develop, I use a model called head, heart, briefcase. And we're always developing some aspect of our performance potential, either from a head standpoint, that's really talking about that behavioral self-awareness of ourselves in action. How are people experiencing us? I talk a lot about leadership is really about how other people feel about themselves when they're being led by us. That's really that self-awareness in action. And so we are always trying to understand how other people are motivated similarly or differently than us. And I say no one has to drive you crazy at work. It's just a motivating need trying to be heard. And what is it about how they're wired that's a little bit different from you? So it's almost like you can kind of step back. It gives leaders the skills to kind of step back from those highest pressure moments and kind of see the landscape of what's unfolding in a little bit of a different way than kind of being locked into the choppiest of that water and how they're actually experiencing it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So head, heart, briefcase. So then heart is all about curiosity and growth mindset. And it's interesting the work that I do with leaders around the behavioral intelligence and understanding how we're wired for work really helps people be more curious, be more of a growth mindset person. I talk about having a curiosity button, in those toughest moments, like hit that curiosity button, kind of just, hold for a minute, take a step back, and then think to yourself, how do I want to approach this a little bit differently? What is it about this ambiguity that might be getting me a little riled up? What is it about this pressure that might be getting me a little riled up? What is it about this need for change that maybe someone else is kind of putting on my plate that is getting me a little bit riled up? And kind of how do I drop back a little bit and experience it differently?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So do you specify in like certain industries or, or focus on certain industries? Or are you broadly applying this?
Yes, I have clients and leaders that I work with across all industries. I will say, though, I do a lot of work in the banking industry and I do a lot of work in manufacturing. And I think that in our current environment, those are two industries where relationships are exceptionally important. So if you just take banking right now, I mean, trust is their product. And especially I work a lot with community banks and regional banks and credit unions where the relationship is very much their competitive advantage. And so you could imagine how some of these concepts and these frameworks really help leaders in those areas.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I can't imagine, like, with the different things that are going on in the work world right now, like, there's a lot of companies that are not hiring or can't hire, and a lot of employees, or there's a lot of people unemployed too. But then, some of the budgets have been cut because, just the unknown of, what's going on out in the world and the economics. So that probably has a big wrinkle as well, I would think.
Yes, absolutely. And, another thing is, as you are well aware, right now we're going through a really generational shift.
Mhm.
And, folks talk a lot about the wealth transfer and where many banks have made relationships with certain individuals or business owners or customers in their community. Now, we're going to start to see shifts in terms of uh, where that wealth moves, and a lot of leaders are not only looking to understand how to build stronger ties in the community, but also how to build stronger ties from a multi-generational standpoint. And so that's another area that's on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely on our radar too. It's always about, taking care of the whole family, not just the parents, not just the grandparents, but the entire family. It's like kind of like what we call ourselves the sandwich generation. So, taking care of our parents, the adult kids, and then their kids, is our goal too.
Yeah, and everyone is motivated a little bit differently, right? Your original client might have had a different goal. They may have had a different path to how they built their portfolio or what their vision is for their legacy or their impact, and that may not be as well defined for some of the other family members. And so, how do you build a relationship with different folks in the same family who might be driven and motivated very differently?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You have to have those conversations because everyone, each generation, they have different mindset, a different way they look at things. It's amazing to see the difference.
Yeah, and even if you zoom out and think about it, not just in terms of serving a family, but family-run businesses. I do a lot of work with multi-generational
Mhm.
family businesses where that concept, that kind of kernel that we just were talking about, just gets exponentially bigger when you think about now an organization that has multiple generations of a family involved in the operation of it. And
Mhm.
you can imagine that even gets more complex. So I do a lot of work with companies to help them understand this side of the dynamics, right? Not just the family barbecue
Yes,
dynamics,
yes, yes.
but how does that then show up in the workspace versus it's a very unique balance that multiple generations have to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to work through it. They do definitely have to work through it and figure it out and figure out how they can work together because
Yes.
because they do work differently.
Yes. Yes. And that gets back to that head heart briefcase and really understanding, how do I experience dad or granddad or grandma or mom or sister or aunt or
Right.
daughter in different environments,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to really kind of compartmentalize. And the behavioral science work really helps to have a language for understanding how we how we connect and how we also get off sides with one another. Our behavioral wiring is the source of both our superpowers and also our stumbling blocks. And it has a lot to do, with how we turn that volume up or down. And so sometimes environment changes, right? The boardroom to that barbecue, right? Sometimes if a leader is more self-aware on the volume buttons on some of those influence dials, it really helps them to kind of take that step back, hit that curiosity button. And so I see a lot of leaders really get wonderfully astute at understanding human dynamics. And, we can't automate trust, right? As much as we try to automate everything these days, right? We'll automate as much as we can, but you can't automate trust.
Yeah, you got to build that.
Yeah, but we can predict how to build it, right? There are patterns. There are ways to understand the science.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about you and what you're doing, your business, where do they go to find you?
Yeah. Well, my business is Predictive Advisors. So you can find me at predictiveadvisors.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Michelle Kozin. You can find me there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So another question is, what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional female?
So I would say that in line with kind of what we've been talking about, there are three main types of diversity. And I think as a professional woman, sometimes when we're working with folks, these three different areas of diversity can sometimes be muddled together. So I talk a lot about diversity of thought, which is really what we've been talking about, this concept of behavioral science in our lives and how it helps us understand our drives and our motivating needs and how our behavior is a response to our motivating needs, right? So whether someone comes across as a bit more independent or more collaborative, whether they come across as being very fast-paced or more steadying, right? Different aspects and attributes. None of them are right or wrong, but that's really diversity of thought. Then there's diversity of experience, and diversity of experience is really about your skills, your knowledge, your education, things like that. And then the third area of diversity is really core diversity. And this is where, we have our gender or age or race, religion, or orientation, any of those kind of core aspects of diversity that we know exist. And so what happens is all three of those areas kind of mix together. And when I think about the question you asked about challenges, sometimes challenges come from judgments, right? People make judgments, they make assumptions. And what I have seen myself and what I know having coached many professional women, sometimes there's this mixing of, oh, she's so this, right? Because folks may have a style different with someone, which comes from that diversity of thought, right? It's a style difference, or, well, she hasn't been in this industry long enough, right? That's judgment on that briefcase piece, right? But sometimes it comes into environments where people start making judgments that are core diversity judgments, right? She's so this, or she's saying that because of, right? So I do think, unfortunately, some of that still exists, but I really try to explain that to folks to help them understand that if you are feeling a little judgy, which can be natural, sometimes we feel a little judgy because we've got something that's not there, feels like there's a little bit of friction in that conversation, feels like there's a little friction in that relationship, and so our minds start to try to figure out why. And so sometimes people without frameworks around the power of diversity of thought will go into those other categories to try to find a reason for it. He's such a, or, she's such a kind of, and so that is a kind of a very personal sort of challenge that I always love to help people see a little bit differently, and maybe kind of get people to sit back a little bit and not rush to judgment, and also understand when that judgment might be coming from just your own self trying to resolve something you don't really understand.
Yeah, we all do it for sure. I did it on the way to work today. Somebody blocked the box. I'm like, what are you doing? All the judgment came out.
Blocking the box is frustrating. I'll give that to you.
Drives me crazy. Yeah. Especially when they pull into it when it's already red for them. My things.
Yes. Sometimes I'm like, okay, how can I give that a little bit of grace in this moment? Maybe they have somewhere they're really trying to be, but
exactly.
it can be frustrating.
God. Okay. So we're gonna, I'm not gonna go down that road too much, because I was like, oh, stop being a brat. But what about your vision of retirement? What are you thinking about there?
So my vision of retirement is I'm a big impact legacy person, partly because I've just worked with so many leaders who are doing that same discernment work for themselves. And so for me, it's continuing to have a point of view about how to help folks be on that performance edge, show up in their best selves, but maybe with a bit more free time. I think that's one of the reasons why many of us get into this entrepreneurial world, is to just have a bit more freedom of how we want to share our impact, but at the same time, be able to travel, right? Make the memories, enjoy the family, enjoy friends, connect with others. I've been doing a couple of masterminds with other entrepreneurial women in the past few years, and I have absolutely loved that. And so what it's brought back into focus for me, where sometimes I get a bit heads down on doing the work, it makes me realize that from a retirement standpoint, I just want to continue to have more opportunity to create connection and community.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, you definitely need to do that. It's all about like who you're going to have ice cream with, who you're going to have lunch with, because
exactly.
You have a different set of people.
Yeah. Who are you going to play golf and pickleball with?
Yeah, see, if you can still play pickleball, if your knee's not blown out or you didn't tear your ACL, because those are the big, like people are blowing out their ACLs playing pickleball.
No, there's pickleball can be a little aggressive, more aggressive than you might think.
I know. I'm like, okay, people, let's go. Oh, but well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, Michelle, and I really appreciate hearing about you and your story.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. It's great to chat with you, Regina.
Thanks. And thank you everyone else for joining us. Again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. You can follow me at, our website is forgewealth.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, and LinkedIn, Regina McCann-Hess. I think I would say go make it a great day. Have a good day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.